I am Priscilla Costa and I teach English as a second or foreign language. The two strategies I will present today are academic conversations and prediction guides. Academic conversations are a valuable strategy because it trains students to talk in the classroom. Of course, students know how to talk to each other, how to talk to their families, but they do not know how to talk appropriately in the classroom. They do not know that genre. So training them for academic conversations is really important. It also improves their content understanding and their critical thinking. It builds their community because they can learn from their peers and provide respectful and thoughtful comments on what their peers are thinking. And it's essential for intercultural communication. Students from different countries may have different forms of communication, gestures that they use, timing, eye contact, that may be different depending on the culture they come from. So training them for academic conversations in an American institution is essential for their progress in the content areas. Each teacher will decide what their expectations are in their classroom. You can develop with your students the rules for your classroom. You can make a poster depending on your style to let them know what you expect. So you may say that if you want to talk, you have to raise your hand, you have to look at your interlocutor, you have to wait for your turn. Each teacher will decide what's really important, but what's essential is to help them to learn how to agree and disagree respectfully, how to provide opinion, how to ask for clarification, and how to summarize what someone else said and paraphrase what someone else said. And that's when making posters to provide them with language to use in their conversations will become essential. So these posters were developed and distributed by the Charlotte Mecklenburg schools in North Carolina, and they provide students with sentence frames that they can use in their conversations. Some sentences will be used to elaborate and clarify meaning. Some will be used to paraphrase what someone else said or paraphrase the text that they are talking about. And some will provide them with supporting ideas or examples, how they can express those ideas. These sentence frames are especially important and helpful for English language learners because sometimes they know what they want to ask, but they are not prepared to start their question or their comment. So having a sentence frame will be helpful for them. In the activity I will present you, the students used academic conversation expectations and style and that genre for prediction. They used prediction guides before their reading so that they could activate their prior knowledge. Prediction guides can be provided for students as questions or true or false questions or discussion prompts that the students will use before they read the content. This way they will bring what they already know about the topic, and it will also provide them with critical thinking and peer support. Let's say they don't know anything about the topic that's coming in a content area class, and their peers already know something. They can learn from their peers before they actually start reading or start attending or start the lecture. The prediction guides also guide their academic conversation because it also provides them with the vocabulary and with the language that they will be using or that they will be exposed to in the text. In this example lesson, Students learned about social studies, so it was a geography lesson. It was presented in second grade, but it could be adapted to many other grade levels depending on the content that the teacher chooses to use or the text that the teacher provides the students with. The idea can be adapted to any content area and any grade level. It's just the strategy that can be elaborated depending on the text. In this case, it was used for second grade. It came right after a unit about musical instruments around the world, and this unit was about geography, and the country in question was Brazil. Students did turn and talk prediction. They turned to their peers and they predicted if some statements were true or false. Then they received the teacher input and the text, and to end the activity, they had a post-listening turn and talk, and they turned to their peers and they checked for if their predictions were correct or not. The Common Core State Standards used for this lesson were reading instructional text 2.1, speaking and listening 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. This is the prediction guide they used. So in the first column, there were 6 statements. Students had to turn and talk to their friends to decide if these statements were true or false. And they had to provide arguments to justify their answer if it was true or false. After listening, then they checked if their predictions were correct or not, and they had to write the correct sentences. This is the material that was used, and their reading came from the slides that were paired with the teacher presentation, oral presentation. There's text for the students reading this slide, which improves their literacy skills. Of course, this was second grade, so the text is very simple, very short, only words. But you see that there's vocabulary that the teacher wanted to reinforce, in this case, flag and states. In this slide, the teacher wanted them to become more aware of maps, so the word map appears in the slide too, and also in the questions that they had, the statements they had in their prediction guide. Vegetation was another vocabulary word that the teacher wanted them to learn and use in their texts. So they learned about vegetation in Brazil. This slide is about the population, so they had the word population in their prediction guide, and they got access to it through the lecture too, and then when they wrote the correct statement, they had to use the word again. This slide is about food. And finally, the link with the previous unit. They had one slide, and part of the presentation was about music, which again connected to the unit about musical instruments, and they review some of the vocabulary and used in their writing. At the end, students turned and talked to their friends again, using, one more time, academic conversation, expectations and guidelines, so that they could check their predictions, and at the end they wrote their sentences correctly or not. That was the post-reading activity for assessment. I hope this is helpful for you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer and provide you with more ideas on how this activity can be adapted for your content area or your grade level. Thank you. Bye.